What's up, guys? My name is Aisha Thomas, and welcome to the Senior NCO Perspective. And in these sessions, I want to have a conversation with you from the other hat that I wear, the military hat, as I serve in the United States Air Force. I'm currently an E7, a Master Sergeant in the Air Force. And when I say Senior NCO, those are those top 3 tiers within the enlisted corps. And from that perspective, you see so many different things as a Senior NCO that you probably wouldn't see when you're a Senior Airman at E4, E5. So as you're moving up in ranks, you see so many different things in regards to leadership, and you learn so many lessons. And I just want to give back from the lessons I've learned and the organization and the system that really helped me become an effective leader. So shout out to all my Air Force members out there. So today I want to talk about how in leadership you have to show up a lot differently. I remember a time when I was at technical training, and again, this was my second chance to lead, because if you watched the last episode, I talked about an experience of how I had the opportunity to lead in basic training, but I had such a follower mindset that I struggled to lead in that season. So my MTI fired me and someone else came in and took over, and I watched how she led and I learned from that experience. So when I had a second time to lead, that I would do it better, I would be more effective. And I want to leave that as a first note, that when you have seasons of leadership where maybe you weren't as effective, or maybe there were some bumps in the road, you want to always reflect and identify, how could I have improved? What could I have done better? What could I have learned? Get with a mentor, somebody that can support, analyze that piece of that season for you, and then now you can take those lessons. So when you do have that second chance, because we always will have a second chance to lead again, we will. And now we've learned from those previous lessons, and now we can apply those lessons in those new seasons. So this was my new season. I graduated from basic training. Now I was in technical training, and I had another opportunity to lead as a green rope. Now green ropes were pretty much, you had your technical training individuals that were going there, but as a green rope, you're pretty much saying that, okay, I am going to take on the responsibility to also ensure that everyone else around me, all the people at this technical training, are going to adhere to the rules and the regulations. They're going to be up to standards. They're going to step out and be great airmen. And it was kind of like you were kind of watchmen to ensure that happens. But I consider myself the cool green rope, meaning that instead of admonishing you for maybe something that you're doing, I'd rather talk to you about it and say, okay, hey, I noticed that you're doing this. Let's go talk about it. Let's identify and remedy this issue. Go back in your dorm, fix it, or I'll just try to pivot them in the right direction so they can correct the issue, versus being that individual that just admonishes you and sends you off to leadership and tells them all these bad things you've done. So that's what I meant by cool. So I was also like, hanging out with my friends while also managing this green rope, this leadership role that I took on. But one of the things that I was faced one time, my friends decided to break a major rule. And as I saw it unravel, I was like, hey, y'all, listen, you guys can essentially do what you want to do in this situation, but I want to let you know, like, you're going to potentially get into a lot of trouble. So I want you to think twice before you continue to do what I'm seeing right now. But while y'all figure that out, I'm going to roll out. So I ended up leaving the dorm. We were all hanging out, so I ended up leaving. Well, unfortunately, somebody told on one of the other floors, and now it kind of just unraveled into something. It just went crazy, right? So I found myself in a situation where people saw me hanging out with those group of girls. So I was warped into that complaint. I was warped into that situation that happened. So I had a season where my green rope was taken away from me as they investigated to identify if this green rope, this leader that we put into this role, was a part of this whole shenanigans that happened. And just to say what happened, they snuck a boy into the dorm. They snuck a boy into the dorm, and I saw them talking to him out the window. They were like, come here. And I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Let me leave before. I don't want to see anything else, because I don't want to witness what might happen. Well, essentially, when I left, they snuck the boy in the room, and somebody called and told that it happened. So again, these were people I was associated with. So I got warped in there because they were like, hey, Airman Thomas was in the room with them. So I don't know if she was a part of it. So, and my leadership did the right thing. They took the green rope away from me, and they should have, as they investigated. I remember after it happened and my green rope was taken from me temporarily, and having those conversations with my friends, and I was explaining to them what was going on. And they were like, listen, we never intended to get you in trouble. We got your back. When they talk to us, we'll tell them what really happened and ensure that you don't get any trouble. And I appreciated that. And that's why it's so important that we recognize that when we take on certain leadership roles, that we are going to essentially have to walk away from certain relationships. We might have to address certain things that might be uncomfortable, allowing people and really creating boundaries and letting them understand what this means to you. And then they can pretty much decide, okay, I understand, let's pivot this way. Or again, that relationship might need to be ended. And again, in different seasons in leadership, you might identify that you have to be around different circles because the requirements of you are going to be so different. So as I mentioned before, when I talk about identify what it's going to mean to be in that leadership role, really continue to realize that being a leader really means that you have to walk a different way. People are looking to you. Their expectations of you is different. You are stepping into a space where you're saying that I am going to be the face of, rules, regulations. I'm going to be the face of really making sure that we go about things in a certain way. And if you pivot outside of that, people are going to be like, wait. I thought you lived under this type of value system, under this type of system, and now you're going around it. So realize as you're navigating this leadership process that you're really going to have to consistently analyze if you are truly about, again, that leadership life. And I'm really talking to you as emerging leaders. There are going to be some shifts and changes. Those people that are your friends are now going to be people that you have to manage and lead. And some people aren't going to really be as understanding of that. So that means that relationship might end. There are going to be some people who are understanding. They're going to respect your position and respect that you have a value system and you have to conduct yourself a different way. Or again, you might have to navigate and recognize that you might have to end up with a whole new level of friends in a circle because, again, who you are becoming and the kind of spaces that you're moving in is going to be different than who you were. So as you're going into different seasons of leadership, you're going to have to consistently rebirth this new version of you. And sometimes you can't take everybody that was in phase 1 with you to phase 2. And you will really have to analyze that as you progress in leadership. I was so thankful to have a circle of friends around me that were like, you know what, we understand, we respect that, and we were wrong for putting you in this position. So this is how we're going to navigate. I appreciate those girls for that. Or you might have a group of people that might try to take advantage of the fact that they have someone that is in a position of somewhat influence. So again, just recognize as you're progressing in leadership from that emergent leader space for all those new leaders out there, because again, I was a very new leader going into the Air Force. I was really learning a lot of things in this process, and I led before on the civilian sector before I transitioned into the Air Force, but this was just another level of responsibility. So I really had to manage and really start paying attention how I walked, how I talked, the circles that I was in as I transitioned to the different phases of leadership. And I'm still doing that now. So recognize who you are now as a leader. You're going to have to consistently grow and develop. And that might mean you might have to leave the old you behind, old friendships behind, and an old mindset behind. So thank you guys for tuning in as I take you on this journey from being an emerging leader to a senior NCO, and how you can utilize these tips, these strategies, these developmental information that I'm providing you to really take your leadership to another level. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave me a comment, and I will see you guys next time.